Welcome to Daniel's Inferno. My name is Daniel. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you have a moment, please like, subscribe, share, join the conversation below. I'd love to hear from you. So before we start this video off today, I'd actually like to apologize for my absence. I know it's been about 2 weeks or so since I posted my last video. I got a pretty bad infection actually that took me out of commission for 10 or 11 days, and I'm just starting to get back to my regular self. I'd also like to say that I'm going to be changing the background where I'm doing my filming. That's currently in process at the moment. It's going to take a little bit of time, but stay tuned for that. I think you're really going to enjoy what it looks like. So today's video, we are going to be talking about Kyle Rittenhouse and the Kenosha protests. So for those of you who do not already know about this, because it's been all over the place, I'd like to just try to stick to what we know as facts. A lot of people are making subjective claims without any concrete evidence. And I mean, I will have a few opinions, clearly, but I also, with this situation, it's so volatile, I don't want to inflame it even worse. So that's obviously not what this lovely article here, they don't care about that clearly. What's the first two words? A white, because it's the color of the skin that matters, not the content of the character. I think that's backwards. A white 17-year-old who says he went to protest in Wisconsin to protect businesses and people has become a flashpoint in debate over anti-racism demonstrations that have gripped American cities. Kyle Rittenhouse grabbed an AR-15 style rifle and joined several other armed people in the streets of Kenosha, where businesses had been vandalized and buildings burned following a police shooting that left Jacob Blake, a black man, paralyzed. Now, we're actually also going to be talking about Jacob Blake very briefly. I just want to go over some facts and some things that weren't mentioned in many of the media articles. Again, I don't want to inflame it worse. Investigations are pending for both of these issues, and I'd prefer to wait and see what those investigations, what their conclusions are. But at a hearing Friday, a judge postponed a decision on whether Rittenhouse, who is in custody, should be returned to Wisconsin to face charges including first-degree intentional homicide. So Kyle Rittenhouse was out in Kenosha, where there are many, many, many protests. And I'd like to say, I think to begin with, most of them were very peaceful. And then, like many of these protests, they turned from protests to riots, looting, vandalism, a lot of bad stuff, things that most of us are against. And from what we know, he was working in Kenosha as a lifeguard. Afterwards, he and a friend went to a high school to clean up some graffiti. They then apparently were called, one of them was called by a car dealership business owner who said he needed people to defend his business. So Kyle and his friend then went to the business with their weapons to apparently defend it. That's now, is he allowed to even be out and about in Wisconsin with a gun? Well, we know at least, as you can see on my screen, we're going through open carry laws. Wisconsin's going to be all the way down here. So Wisconsin, there's a big check mark on the first box, which is permissive for status of open carry by jurisdiction. So we know that open carry is allowed in Wisconsin. Now, was he actually the right age to be handling a weapon in Wisconsin? And you'll see here, it generally prohibits the international transfer of any firearm to an individual under 18. It generally prohibits the possession of a firearm by any person under the age of 18. The restrictions do not apply, however, when the firearm is being used by a person under the age of 18 by supervised by an adult at a target practice, a course, or an instructor. It also applies for things like hunting. But under the age of 18, he was not 18, he's a 17-year-old. So he already right here, he shouldn't have been out and about. I don't know why a business owner is calling some teenagers who aren't even 18. They're still living with their parents. They probably don't even do their own laundry. So why you're placing enough faith in these children essentially to defend your business is, I mean, I know that the police aren't an option, but there's got to be someone who is a bit older who can help you, I'm sure. So I'd like to then go look at some tweets by a reporter by Andy No. Now, Andy No has been vitiated by many different media outlets. He's been attacked by insane leftists and different protesters, and he's still going strong, which I have to give him a lot of credit for. So he talks about the people who were shot, and I just want to go over who they were. All right, that's it. So we've identified who they were. Joseph Rosenblum, 36, was the first one deceased. The video allegedly shows him chasing the teen shooter and throwing something at him. He was a registered sex offender for a sex crime involving a minor. As you can see here, the Wisconsin Department of Corrections Sex Offender Registry. Now, I'm not saying that his past means he should be, that it's permissive that what happened to him at all. And investigation will show whether or not he was the aggressor or if Kyle was the aggressor. But if this individual was the aggressor, which this is where I'm putting a bit of opinion in, it wouldn't surprise me if he was based on his history, then Kyle was acting in self-defense with this individual in this case. So that's something we know about this individual. So now we just know a little bit about his past. Now let's go over the second person. Anthony Hubbard, 26, deceased. He was shot by Kyle at the BLM riot. He was filmed chasing down the armed teen and hitting him when he was on the ground with a skateboard. He had a criminal history that includes charges of battery and repeat domestic abuse. Again, those charges against him, his past does not, it does not make a man. And it does not mean that he deserved to be killed. No one deserves that for their crimes outside of states that allow the death penalty and a court of law that decides that. And obviously, police officers defending themselves, there are other situations, but for the most part. However, we know a little bit more about the second person who got shot. And as you can see here, you can see him, same hat, same backpack. You can see him hitting. This is Kyle. There's Kyle's weapon on the ground with a skateboard. That looks like an aggressive act. Getting hit in the face with a skateboard in the head, that could kill you, for goodness sakes. Um, Now the third person, we do know a bit about them. The only thing I'm going to say is that we know, at least based off of tweets and other things, the friend of the individual who was shot in the arm alleges that he is sad and unhappy that he wasn't able to do away with Kyle Rittenhouse. The doctors were able to save the individual's arm. Now, this little tweet here, I also wanted to show quickly. So as you can see, it says a Molotov cocktail, deadly force, a skateboard to the head, deadly force, kicking, stomp to the head while on the ground, grievously bodily harm or deadly force, and holding a handgun. So this picture here, as you can see, are all different instances of things that were happening to Kyle Rittenhouse prior to his shooting, at least that we know of so far. There is a video that is circulating, and if you want to, you can find it fairly easily, where there are a group of individuals chasing Kyle. Someone in the crowd yells, "What did he do?" Someone else says, "He shot somebody." Someone else says, "Well, go get him." Mob mentality. These people are, without evidence, without proof, without anything, are grouping as a mob, some sort of lynch mob, and chasing him. And anyone who is trying to allow this or say that it's a right action by these protesters, looters, rioters, however you want to classify them, to try to defend their actions is, in my opinion at least, similar to trying to defend lynch mobs. This individual, although underage, although he was doing things wrong, that's for a court of law to punish him for and the police to punish him for. He was asked by a business owner to come and defend his business. Again, I don't know why he was there. I don't know why he thought he was old enough or had the wisdom or experience, but he was there. He got attacked by people. He shot at people. People were hurt and or killed by him. So now he's in custody, and things will progress from there. But my opinion, from what I've seen so far, and I will change this opinion if more evidence comes out, but I don't think Kyle should have been there at all. I don't think he had the age, I don't think he had the experience or the wisdom. And obviously, legally, he wasn't allowed to open carry with any sort of weapon. So again, those are all things that I will, put on Kyle. However, to attack him, stomp at him, throw objects, pull weapons, all of these things are not permissive, regardless of what he's done. Again, the police are the purveyors and holders of our society's fabric when it comes to lawfulness. And that's starting to break down heavily in the US. Donald Trump sent in the National Guard, and things in Kenosha started to really, really calm down. It is up to the government officials and the proper authorities to deal with these things. It is one thing to go out, use your democratic right and protest. It is another thing to attack people and become a mob. Hey guys, so this is me editing. Um, I thought of a couple of things that I actually didn't mention about Kyle, and I thought it was unfair of me to leave it out. I was having a conversation with a very good friend of mine. He made some very, very poignant things, some very, very poignant points, and you know, I thought they should be added in here. So Kyle is alleged to have shot at somebody before he fled and before all of those videos or pictures that I showed uh, that were more in defense of him. Apparently, prior to that, he had shot someone while defending a business. Now, we don't know the situation around it. However, the question I have with that is, why did he flee? If he was in the right, and he fired at somebody or shot at somebody in self-defense, then why flee? There are laws in the books that protect you. Was he scared for his life or was he scared of the law? Now, the situation around why he fled is obviously very important. We don't know his state of mind. We don't know what was going on in the situation. All the information is still very up in the air, but I do think those questions need to be asked. Why did he run? There were also allegedly a lot of other armed guards or armed people with him, around him defending these businesses when he first allegedly shot at somebody. So, again, why was he running? And, I'd like to know why. My friend mentioned to me that apparently Kyle at one point puts his hands up and walks towards law enforcement and is waved off the street. This is after he had shot at somebody. Now, was he waved off the street and arrested on the sidewalk because they had, police vehicles, National Guard, whatever, they needed the road actually clear to get their, personnel in? Or was it, here's a white kid and I don't care what he's done, so here we go. Now, again, I'd like to believe that that's not the case because, again, it's the color.
Not the color of the skin that matters, it's the content of our character. Sorry, my little joke earlier. Almost said it again. But, this kid being white, black, brown, red doesn't matter. It really doesn't. His actions matter. And I'd like to believe that many or most police officers agree with that. There are terrible people, obviously, racist people, people who focus on race. I'm sure we see it all, we see it all the time in the media these days. Race is such a hot topic. But Kyle, why did you run? In a situation you shouldn't have even gotten yourself into. Why a business owner asked him to defend a 17-year-old to defend a business. Why he thought illegally open carrying a weapon was okay. And he may have not actually been a Wisconsin native. Now, I don't know that, but there are claims that he is not native to Wisconsin. I can't find that information, unfortunately. But if that's the case, then this is even more detrimental to his case, and it vitiates him even more, and for good reason. Now, again, I will claim that this mob that chased him, it is nobody's job to take the law into their own hands. It's one thing to have friends, family, loved ones, people you know defending your business because you're worried about it. That's again, that's your legal right to have people outside just milling around with their weapons. That's your legal right. Police officers should not wave people off like it's nothing that they've shot at or shot people. That that's not a nothing. And there are claims that apparently many big businesses have made quite a lot of money throughout this whole COVID thing. And, it's it's not really something that has to do with this video, but I do think it is a good question to be asked. All of our small businesses, were told to close, while bigger businesses were allowed to do social distancing in one form or another. This really hurt small businesses. My local pizza place and burger place that I love, it took a lot of ordering out and Uber Eats and all that kind of stuff to help them stay afloat. Yet Walmart, Tim Hortons, you know, think of the big brands that you were able to go to and shop at during the height of the lockdown. It is an interesting point just to make, just it's something to get the noggin jogging. But again, Kyle should not have been there, and he should not have been armed, and no one should have asked him to defend any business. Now, again, that does not give the mob the right to attack him, hit him with objects, skateboards, stomp on him, whatever, because that does, even if he shot at someone, at least I could be wrong legally, but this is at least an opinion. If he shot at somebody, is it then give a citizen the right to go assault that person. That's like the whole two wrongs make a right. That's why we have the law to intervene with these things. So again, it's just a lot of questions, a lot of things that need to be answered. Information is up in the air. Let's hope we get fair and right information and fair reporting on all of this. I'm sure we're all sick and tired of the nonsense and the bullshit when it comes to the reporting. Sorry about the edit, guys. Hope you. Now, as I said earlier, I'd like to quickly talk about Jacob Blake. That's what started the whole Kenosha incident. And again, it's horrific that it happened. Um, Investigation is pending. The information we do know, I'd like to just quickly go through. Now, I'm using Wikipedia because it is the only source that I could find that it had the most minimal amount of bias in it for things about Jacob Blake. So go ahead if you want the sources. Wikipedia is good at sourcing everything as well, which is another reason I don't mind using it. So what happened? What happened that started this whole incident? So on the 23rd of August, the police responded to a 911 call about a domestic incident. The caller said Blake,
quote, Blake wasn't supposed to be there, and that Blake had taken the complainant's keys and refused to give them back. They were informed by the dispatcher that was a wanted alert for someone at the address indicated by Police Code 1099. Blake had a warrant for his arrest based on charges of third-degree sexual assault, trespassing, and disorderly conduct in connection with domestic abuse. Let's just stop there quickly. So, before anything, there was a 911 call. Police were called. Apparently, this individual was somewhere he wasn't supposed to be and had taken somebody's keys and was not giving them back. There was also prior warrants out for him, and they were fairly dangerous and violent crimes. So the police were probably right off this, were on high alert, finding out his prior history and that they were now going after somebody who had allegedly done these horrific things. So police now on high alert. That's something we have to at least acknowledge, that this information would have made the police very, very uneasy now about Blake. So according to a witness, Blake pulled up his car near 6 or 7 women shouting at each other on the sidewalk, and Blake did not say anything to the women. Blake's attorney said Blake was attempting to de-escalate a fight between 2 other people when officers arrived at the scene, and that Blake tried to enter his vehicle while his 3 sons were inside. Stop there. Why, when he had his 3 sons in his car with him, and he has priors on his record, why is he getting involved? Sorry. Why is he getting involved with someone else's, you know, altercation? I don't think that's a smart move. Do you? When your kids are in the back seat? You probably shouldn't be getting involved in anything that the police might be interested in, especially if you're trying to dodge these warrants. All of these things coalescing are telling me that Blake probably should have gotten in his car, gone home, or gone and done whatever errands or things he was out to do, and just minded his own business. Officers attempted to subdue Blake, and 2 officers used tasers on him. A bystander who recorded a video of the incident told reporters that he heard police yelling, "Drop the knife," and also said, "I don't see any weapons in his hands. He wasn't being violent." After an initial scuffle, Blake walked to the driver's side of his vehicle, followed by Shesky and another officer with handguns drawn. Shesky attempted to grab Blake, and when Blake opened the driver's side door and leaned in, Shesky grabbed him and fired 7 shots toward Blake's back. He was hit by 4 of the 7. Uh, Wisconsin attorney Josh Call said the knife was recovered from the driver's side front floorboard of the car Blake was leaning into when he was shot in the back. He said that Blake had also told investigators he had a knife, though he declined to describe the knife or say whether it was related to the shooting. So even if this knife wasn't in his possession, it seems, at least when you're leaning in, when you're scuffling and police are trying to subdue you, with your kids in the back seat, mind you, and you're going into your car for something, that probably indicates to them. And again, I know this is a bit of subjecture, I'm really gleaning into their thought process, but I mean realistically, if you're going after somebody with a past of violent crimes as an officer, and you've tased him and he's still wrestling with you, scuffling, whatever, and he leans into his car, what do you think he's getting? A bagel? What do you think he's getting? A bottle of water? At one point, I read somewhere that his lawyers claimed he was trying to go in and check on his sons. And you're trying to check on your sons. You're scuffling with police. Do you really care how your sons are doing? Now, again, none of these things mean that Blake deserved to be paralyzed, and we don't know whether or not this paralyzation is going to be permanent. As someone with a disability, it sucks. I don't wish that on anyone. I'm happy he survived, clearly. People are complaining that he's handcuffed to his bed. I'm sorry, but that's the law. He broke the law in a lot of different ways, and he also threw away his fatherly duty, in my opinion, um, with how he dealt with the entire situation. Could have been handled entirely differently on his part. Now, again, am I saying the officers had the right to do what they did? I mean, I don't know the exact laws for police officers in Wisconsin, but I would have to assume, based off of everything, that right now it looks like a good shoot. And just because a white police officer shoots a black individual, that does not automatically throw away any credibility to that shoot. There are good shoots. I'm sorry. There are obviously bad shoots, and there needs to be police reform. I'm not arguing against that. I think body cam should be a mandatory for all officers, and I think that's right off the bat something everyone can agree with. But, and I mean, there are other reforms clearly, but that's not this video. However, Blake did not handle this in a manner befitting a father with his sons in the back seat of his car. He had priors against him that made the officers, we must assume, very wary. So for people to get all up in arms and to try to equate this to what happened with George Floyd, the two are not the same at all. What happened to George Floyd was horrific, and I hope Derek Chauvin rots in prison for a very long time. What he did was horrific. In this case, it's not the same just because it's an officer and an African American man. That does not, again, automatically vitiate the officer and clear the man of any wrongdoing. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Daniel's Inferno. Have a wonderful day.